Good day and welcome to this Focus On. I'm David Rarimer. Now, the Africa Aerospace and Defence Expo is set to take place this month at Waterkloof Air Force Base in Tshwane. Delegates from across the globe will talk shop, display new technologies in the sector and strengthen relationships. Sandile Ndlovu, former naval officer of the South African Navy and current executive chairperson of the Africa Aerospace and Defence Air Show, joins me now to better understand this upcoming event. Now, Sandile, your 2018 figures show that there were over 480 exhibitors from 40 countries and at least 55,000 visitors walk through the gates. Now that we are out of the pandemic, are you looking to achieve similar numbers?
Hi, David. Thank you for having me. Well, for this installment of AAD, because we had started the planning during the pandemic, we were not sure how the pandemic was going to pan out. So we worked on a 70% capacity planning. So for this year around, we are looking at having slightly less than the 2018 figures, but it was all by design from our side, trying to manage the issues around COVID at that time. By the time the country was moved out of COVID restrictions, we had already commenced and we're far away with our planning. We did not want to disrupt that. So this time around, our figures are going to be slightly less than the 2018 figures.
What's your expected growth trajectory or expectation for this sector?
So the sector is one of the biggest growing sectors globally. Particularly if you segment our sector. So if you talk segmentation, within the aerospace and defense sector, we've got the UAV or the unmanned aerial vehicle subsector, we've got general aviation, we've got the space sector. Just those three areas alone, they are expected to grow quite exponentially, particularly around the African continent. So we are looking at AAD to serve as that springboard that will accelerate the growth factor that currently exists in our sector. So we are looking at quite a substantial growth within the sector, and AAD is going to be, of course, at the center of that growth.
In what way will this platform be used to strengthen partnerships with neighboring countries and to find tailored solutions to Africa's challenges?
So what we are privileged of having as the South African aerospace and defense industry is the ability to customize solutions based on customer requirements. So what normally happens then at AAD, the various clients, the various potential customers would visit the show, see what is on offer, but in more cases than not, they would then require us to customize what we currently have to suit the environment that they are based in. So that is what we are expecting to happen at this AAD. Our neighboring countries are facing quite a number of challenges, starting from disaster situations and of course, security challenges. And we are now looking at AAD to allow our potential customers to come and just see what the market has to offer. And based on what the market has to offer, they will then require us to customize what solutions we have so that they suit the environment that these customers would be coming from. And that all happens within AAD because of the congregation of all of us within these 4 days, 3 days. It allows us to then have those high intensive interactions that allow each customer to come out of AAD with exactly the solution that is right for them.
How will this platform integrate the value chain to advance manufacturing in this sector?
So the integration of the value chain is one of the most critical aspects that we look at. And particularly because it's through the integration of the value chain that we are able to achieve our transformational mandate. And how we do that is by pairing big companies with upcoming SMMEs. So through AAD, upcoming SMMEs get the opportunity to interact and engage with global OEMs and also with South African big OEMs. In that way, they are then able to find opportunities of integrating into the supplier value chains of those OEMs. As we speak now, there are South African companies that are supplying multinationals in terms of components, and we want to create more of those opportunities, particularly for SMMEs who are coming from previously disadvantaged communities and sectors. So AAD then becomes a platform for small guys to have access into these big companies that they would otherwise not be able to access on their own.
Now, Sandile, the AAD Expo showcases investment opportunities. Other than the OEM that you spoke about earlier, which specific areas are you looking to showcase, and where in the aerospace and defense sector would you like to see these potential investments channeled?
All right, so investment is for us is in twofold. We, as the South African defense industry, have always been a attractive proposition for international investors. As we speak now, there is about 8 multinationals who are heavily invested in South Africa from across the globe. Some European companies, French, German, English, British companies, Dutch companies that are heavily invested in South Africa. So we want to create more opportunities for South African companies to have access to international capital through a platform such as AAD. But secondly, the other aspect of investment that we are looking at is South African companies finding investment opportunities, particularly in Africa. So what we have been championing as the South African aerospace and defense industry, particularly within the African countries, is our ability, desire, and willingness to locate ourselves in those countries where they would be interested. We are also quite heavily interested in skills transfer as a form of investment. In cases where it is required, we are also willing to transfer the technology or the intellectual property for the benefit of Africa as a whole. So those are the areas that we are looking at when it comes to investment. But also in inward investment, there are particular areas around the UAV space, the unmanned aerial vehicle space that I've spoken about, and the modernization of our manufacturing processes. To modernize those processes, it would require quite substantial capital, and South African companies alone would not be in a position to do that. We are therefore also attracting foreign interest in terms of those investment capitals. And thirdly, there is quite a number of projects that still require to be delivered from a South African government point of view. And we are reaching out to foreign investors who would be willing to partner with us to assist us to deliver on those projects. So from an investment perspective, those are the 3 areas that we are particularly looking at, but we are very heavily interested in investment opportunities in Africa. Even if in some instances it may not be financial investment, but we would be willing to invest in skills, we would be willing to invest in technology, and we would be willing to invest in intellectual property so that we establish more of these sectors all over the African continent. In that way, Africa will then no longer be a price taker when it comes to high advanced manufactured goods, but we would also be a price giver in that we would be selling to others rather than always buying and importing these goods from across the world.
Certainly looking forward to that. I want to thank my guest Sandile Ndlovu, Executive Chairperson of the Africa Aerospace and Defense Air Show, for joining me today. Until next time, goodbye.